In this part of the presentation, I will introduce aggregation. What is aggregation and how we do that? Let's say, for example, you're looking for subtotals of sales of a few products or even all products, and you want to introduce the math function here, summation and multiplication. Sum of quantity times sale price. This is what we do manually or using a spreadsheet. We can do it in databases as well. Here we have a list of stock keeping units, quantity sold in each transaction, and sale price for a few products. What we do for aggregation of the sales. So obviously we multiply quantity times sale price and then add them together. So the inside of the parenthesis is processed first, and then we do the summation. We focus on stock keeping unit number 1. Multiply the quantities by sale price, and sale price could be different at different times. We might have sale on one product, so the price could be lower than usual. Then what we do after that? We have to aggregate all these numbers into the result, one table. We have to have the total sales for each one of those stock keeping units and then identify that stock keeping unit. But then query processor should know how to aggregate them, how the computer should know the total sales of 962 belongs to stock keeping unit 1. That's where we have to tell the query, group by stock keeping unit. That's exactly the keyword we use, group by stock keeping unit. Exactly the name of the keyword we use here. A counting example. The question is, in how many sales transactions we sold freezers? Well, first of all, we should know how many tables are involved. In these two tables, stock keeping unit is in sale item table if you're going to count the number of transactions in sale table. So we use both tables. We know that the freezer stock keeping unit starts with F, so that's one tool we can count. The number of freezers, the number of transactions that freezers sold. Then we start joining two tables. First, which fields to return. If you're just going to return one count of all the transactions, we just need the count. So our select statement includes the count function, and that count will count the number of sale IDs. And putting a name on the field, freezer sold. Then we need to join these two tables, sale and sale item on the pair of primary and foreign key sale IDs. And then the criterion. The stock keeping unit should be like F and followed by any number of characters. This query returns a number. Now, if we're going to return the stock keeping unit as well, the count of each stock keeping unit, that means we're going to return subgroups, count the number of transactions, and then subgroup by stock keeping units. Again, those two tables are involved. Now we select the item stock keeping unit as well and the same count we had. Join two tables and put the same criterion. Stock keeping unit starts with F followed by a number of characters, and then here, since we have another field besides the count, we need the group by statement, group by stock keeping unit, and then order by the count if you're going to sort the list. So in general, if you have multiple fields which are not part of the aggregate function. You need to list them here in group by statement, separated by comma. The same way you put them in select statement, include them all in group by. Now running this query will return a sorted list of freezers and the number of transactions where we sold the freezers. In each one of those transactions, we might have sold more than one freezer, but that's the number of transactions. Sometimes we're going to create subtotals. What's the revenue generated from selling each stock keeping unit of freezers? So one more time, we have to go to the sale item table where we have the quantity and sale price and the stock keeping unit. So we start our query with select stock keeping unit. Here we do the operation summation and multiplication. First, inside of the parentheses is processed quantity times sale price for all rows, and then summation, adding up. Remember, there's one more step. Assign that summation to one specific SKU. We do this at the end of the query. We assign the name as unit sold. From the table sale item, we're stock keeping unit like F percentage sign, starting with F, followed by any number of characters, and then group by stock keeping unit. Here we can end the query, put down the semicolon, and get the results. We can refer to values that are located between two different values. That could be a number, could be a date. Databases treat date as a sequential number. Here we are going to return sales transactions we had in January 2016, where the data is located, looking at the structure of the database. If you look at the sale table, we can see sale ID, sale date, and other information about each transaction are recorded here. So date is the field that we're going to filter the results based on that. So we select and then count the sale ID. We have to count one of those fields. Well, we can count another field rather than sale ID, but sale ID, since that's a unique field for each transaction, that's a good candidate for counting. Counting sale ID as transaction. One more time, since this count is a new field, we have to assign a name. I make it transactions. From the table sale, where the sale date between, well, between is the keyword. 1st of January and last of January. Just line up the dates, and this is the syntax we use in MySQL. Enclosed and single quotes, and then dash in between of the year and month and the day. And end of the query, semicolon. We have alternative syntax as well. Rather than between, we can use functions where month of sale date, here month is a function. We can pass sale date to month, which will extract the month of the sale date. It should be 1, month of sale date equals 1, and year, sale date, that's a function that extracts the year. It should be 2016, and then end of the query. We can use this syntax as well. The result will be identical. Between works for all data types. We can use it for characters as well. For example, here, selecting the first name, last name of customers. Well, obviously that's the customer table, where the last name between A and C. So if the last name is between A and C, it means starting with A and ending with C. There's a little difference here between the characters and numbers. That means if we run this query, we have all names starting with A and starting with B, but not starting with C, unless the last name is just C. That's the difference we should remember. And then we can sort this, order by last name, ascending, starting with A, and then continue into last name starting with B. And one more time, I want to emphasize, end of the sequence must match C if you're going to use characters. The other keyword I'm going to introduce here is having. If you're running a query and calculating a value, then we're going to refer to that value and filter that. Put a criteria on the value that is being calculated in our query. We use having. We go back to the query we ran for freezer sales. Return only those with cumulative sales more than $10,000. So we're going to return the freezer sales, but then only those that sold more than $10,000. What we do here? Well, much of the structure of the query is the same. Select stock keeping unit, sum of the quantity times sale price, and then put a name on that as freezer sales. From the sale item, same table, stock keeping unit shows the freezer. We need to group by stock keeping unit. Then we start using the having clause. Having sum of the quantity times sale price, which is a new field we have created here, should be more than 10,000. And then after that, we can sort the results order by. And remember, keywords must follow exactly the same sequence. Having must go after group by. Here's the end of introduction to queries. In the next presentation, I will introduce joining tables, how we can join tables.